Good morning. Most High in Christ bless you all. Today's dose of the daily bread will be the history of the Greeks. So we're going to start the day with the prayers. So let's all rise and face Jerusalem. Men of Israel, blow trumpets. Blessed be the God of Israel. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come before thee this morning. Thank you for this opportunity, Father, to wake and see another day, for this opportunity to share this word with our brothers and sisters out there. We ask that this word take its free course, that it fills the hearts of our people, the Israelites, that they might learn and observe thy commandments. They might learn thy history, Father, they can come back to thy holy covenant. We ask, Father, that you bless and protect all those on journeys today, out to work, to school, Father, that you keep them safe, Father, on their going out and coming in, Father, and that you use all of us that we might glorify thee in word and in deed, that we might bring honor to thee in thy Son's name. We ask, Heavenly Father, for those of us that are going through financial hardship, that are going through spiritual trials, Father, those that need their mind renewed, Father, that you strengthen them in thy word, Father. Show them, Father, the wonderful things in our laws, that they might be found as faithful servants. We ask that you deal with us according to thy mercy, not according to the strictness of thy law, Father, because we know that we have all fallen short of thy glory, Father, and it's by the Son's blood that we're redeemed. So we thank you, Father, for all things. In Christ, let me pray, amen. All right. Hey, good morning, family. Most High in Christ bless you out there. And for those that are tuning in for the first time, welcome to the Daily Bread, brought to you by the IUIC. And this is the Austin camp, Austin, Texas. So today we're going to go over some history. I just kind of ended the crept in unawares. I could pick it up if y'all want. You just got to, can you see them typing on your end? Okay, for those that have been chiming to the classes before that, I'll give you a minute. Those that want to hear the Greek history, type 1. Those that want me to continue with crept in unawares, type 2. So you got about a minute, and then the IT team let me know which direction to go. I'm in First Maccabees right now looking there, but we can always go back and do that. I'll give you guys the option. Yeah, so. Say it again? I didn't hear you. You can always type 12. I bet you I could find a way to. No, that'd be hard. I couldn't do both of them. There's no way I could do that.
Uncircumcised?
Yeah, I couldn't do both of them. What was ones again? The Greek history? Okay, so we'll do some of the Greek history. All right? Thank you. Thank you. Here's water. Again, before I start, I do want to give all praises, and I'm being, I like to laugh and joke all the time, but I really want to thank the IT team, man. I came in early this morning to see what you guys do. I don't know why you guys are here the hours you're here, but thank you anyway, because that's remarkable. It makes me know that I need to be at class. If you guys could be here them hours in the morning, all praises. I thank you guys so much for what you're doing. I know you guys go unseen. Turn the camera towards the IT team. Let's see who the IT team. I want. No, turn it. How are they talking about? Don't turn it. So what we just what? I'm like impromptu. I don't care about messing up a shot. Yeah. Show me your face, IT team. This is guys behind that make these things. You see his head sticking up. That's Officer Gedaliah. That's James. What are you, James, a soldier? You working on it? All right, you here. Go back. You know who that is right there. You know that face. Turn it all the way over. See the other face. No, other way. Right there. Okay. More. You know who that is? That's Officer right here, Yakin. It's the IT team that make this thing happen in the morning. So send up prayers for these brothers and thank the Most High for them. Yeah, all praises. All praises for the IT team. And then behind the camera is Zion, the man behind the camera. All right, so, look, the shot is still good. You guys got to live life, you guys. It's too rigid for me. All right, so First Maccabees, Second Maccabees is saying the same thing. There's not continuation. It's a simultaneous story. First Maccabees is where you begin, then we're going to jump to Second Maccabees to kind of put it into some kind of chronological order. Back to First Maccabees. We certainly won't finish today, but we will begin. The major names you need to remember for those that are first time listening, the names you're going to need to know is Antiochus the Great. Write this down before we start. Antiochus the Great, also known as Antiochus the Third. Antiochus Epiphanes, also known as Antiochus the Fourth. Antiochus the Fifth, name is Eupator, Eupator. Seleucus, Demetrius, those, and then we're going to talk about Judas Maccabees and his brother, and that'd be easier to go through. So if you have those few names down, that'd be a good place to begin, all right? Okay, so let's begin in 1 Maccabees 1. We're going to do a lot of reading. Hopefully, I won't try to precept this to death. So we begin in 1 Maccabees 1, verse 1.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened, after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece.
So this is 331 BC, all right? Alexander was the son of Philip the Macedonian. Macedon was a land north of what, well, Macedon is part of Greece now, but it's northern Greece, all right? His father, Philip the Macedonian, was the first king to consolidate all those Greek city-states like Sparta and Athens and all of them, brought them together under one. He defeated Darius III. That was the ruling. He was the ruler of the Persian and Medes, Darius III. They went to war. Darius and the Persians, they controlled a large part of the Eastern Hemisphere, which is Asia Minor, right down, all the way down into India. All the way down to India. They controlled over 127 provinces, south into Egypt, Ethiopia. Man, you guys are on your A game. Look at the IT team. Oh, man. Look at that. Tell you, I didn't even give them the maps. You guys are learning me, so good. All right, so Babylon, not Babylon again, what did I say? The Persians under Darius, and it began with Cyrus the Persian. That was the landmass in which they controlled. And then eventually Alexander controlled all of that too. He went all the way down into India. So Darius III lost to Alexander. Now I'm a preface that with explaining that prior to that, about 100 and something years prior, the Persian Empire, and when you see what says Arabia, Persian Empire, no, I guess they put it there, because I don't know why it says Persian there in black, and then up top it says Persian. That's why with maps, they be all over the place. But anyway, what had happened was the Persians under Xerxes, I forgot the number, Xerxes the First, also known as Ahasuerus, they pressed towards Greece. If you put a pointer there, show where Greece is at. They pressed towards Greece right there. All right, that what sea is that again? The Aegean Sea, Aegean Sea, I should say. They began to press that. You saw the movie 300. That was Ahasuerus, or known as Xerxes. He had a son Artaxerxes, and then I'll get to that in another history. But anyway, so let's go back.
1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
So Philip the Macedonian was assassinated or murdered right after he was able to consolidate all those Greek city-states and make them one land. Read on.
And made many...
and then he died. His son Alexander, the Greek, I hate to say the great, his son Alexander took over, and he was the first to reign over all of Greece as one nation. Read on.
and made many wars and won many strongholds.
And Alexander made many wars. The first war he really took on was Darius III. He took him on and he defeated him, which really was an incredible feat to take down the Persian Median Empire. It wasn't a small empire, and they fought very different. They won many wars because they fought with elephants, unknown at that time, fighting with elephants. So imagine you have a fleet of elephants trampling people. They were the superpower of the earth. But Alexander, by the spirit of the devil, was able to move into land and subdue him and defeat the Persians. Read on.
And slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
Yeah, Alexander's heart was lifted up. He went so far east, down into India. He married a Elamite woman. Her name was I forget, Roxana. This is not in the Bible, but I'm just giving you a little brief history. He married a woman named Roxana. His army was pissed off because they was gone for so many years away from mainland Greece. And then he took a woman to wife. But don't be fooled. Alexander didn't like women. He liked man. But, he needed to procreate. But it never happened. He never was able to bear a child with Roxana. But he had a man lover. I didn't say that there, but I just feel like saying it anyway. It's true. He's not a man lover. He liked man.
And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him.
Okay, it says he ruled over many lands. So if you look, I'm going to go back to the map, but as you go east, many lands was named after him. Egypt. Right, today there's this land in Egypt called Alexandria, Egypt. Alexandria down towards the Mesopotamia is a land called Alexandria. So most of these heathen kings, when they subdued lands, they named it after themselves, like Rome forgot. In the land of Canaan, just north of Canaan, you had a city named Caesarea. You had a land called Antioch, named after Antiochus. They named the lands after themselves. All right? Read on.
And after these,
verse 4 again.
And verse 4. And he,
you see that? Okay, look on the map far right, right before India. Alexandria. See? Above that, Alexandria. They named after themselves. Alexandria, right there again. Alexandria, right there again. Yeah, he went there, he conquered these places, and he just named it after himself. All right? And there's a scripture that says that, and that is, don't tell me real quick, let me see if I remember. Just quote the scripture to me. Just quote it. How does it say it?
that they named their lands after
That's
them.
Psalms 49:11, right?
Mm-hmm.
Psalms 40. I'm telling you, my mind is still
Sharp.
Nothing a little coffee can do for you in the morning. Read that real quick. Psalms 49:11. Sometimes I got to hear it for me to remember it. I can't remember the words. Mm-hmm. Psalms 49:11. Read it. You think God put in the Bible by accident?
That's the perfect example.
Yeah. Read it.
The book of Psalms, chapter 49 and verse 11.
Read.
Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever.
The inward thought that their houses shall continue forever is talking about Esau, the white man, the Caucasian man, the red man. All right? That their houses will, their inward thought in their mind is that their kingdom's going to live forever. Greece never thought they were going to fall. Greece, the mighty Greece, Rome certainly thought they was never going to fall. Rome? You crazy? Rome was one of the, had to been, well, I'll take it back. I won't say the mice because I would tell you right now, Egypt was nothing to joke with in its day. The Persian and Medes was nothing to joke with. Real quick sidebar. I'm not going to get through this class. I can tell you right now. One of the reasons why wow. Okay. One of the reasons why it threw me off just now. One of the reasons why the Persians and Medes were so effective in controlling so much land. Go back to the map again. I got a mic gimbal. Look. Go back to the map again. Okay, the reason why, and for the most part, this was the Persian Empire. What this was, the reason why they were able to control so much land like that, the capital of the Persian Empire was Susa, which is right below the Red Persian Empire, right there. That was their capital. And they had another capital, Ecbatane, which is right north of the map. Go up. Ecbatane. But how did they control land so far east, so far south? Because of their policies. Their policies was everybody can do what they want to do, serve their own gods, whatever, and they gave people free liberty. All you had to do was give them their tribute. Unlike the Greeks, which was Hellenizing everybody, they told them you had to follow our gods and our way of life. So when you conquer somebody, don't think like you have a jet and you fly over to Egypt like in 15 minutes. No, if you want to march on Egypt, you got to march thousands of miles, which would take you a long time. So what they would do, they would leave outposts there, armies, but no real significant army could take over a city. To quell certain uprisings they can. But for the most part, people say, all right, you can rule over us. It don't matter. Once we can eat food and we can whatever, do what we want to do, we'll pay you tribute. That's why you go to war for. You go to war so you can take over, not so you can just destroy, because what's the point? You want to go to war so you can make money. Air America, that's what they do. So they was able to control so much land because of that. Now, I know I'm being long-winded, but trust is going to explain when we get into the scriptures what happened with the Greeks. They had problems. So let's go back.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 5. And after these things...
No, verse 4 one time.
1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 4. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations, and kings who became tributaries unto him.
Read on.
And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die.
This he is Alexander. He fell sick, and he knew that he was going to die. Read on.
Wherefore he called his servants such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
And he called his servants among them because he didn't have no progenitor. Now, I'm going to teach this again, Lord's will, in the near future, and I'm really going to go into Daniel's and explain all of it. But time is limited. So Daniel's prophesied about this king, Alexander, that he wouldn't have no children. And he parted his kingdom amongst many of his generals. Now, the four notable generals that survived, because when he died, go back to the map again. Okay, if you look north of Macedonia, it's Thrace right there. North of Macedonia, on the Greek side, Greece, right by that line. Thrace right there. Then you come on that side of the right there. That's Asia Minor. I'm not going to have all the places here. They don't name it here. Okay, then you go far east. Then you go down south into Egypt. All right, and then you had Greece. So the four areas that was controlled by the four generals would have been Greece would have been one, Thrace would have been the other one, Asia Minor, which is from Cappadocia, Sardis, all the way east, and then down into Egypt. The four generals were Ptolemy, Cassander, Lycomesus, and Seleucus. So those are the four notable generals that survived after he died. Many people fought for land, but those were the four that stood out, that kept those are the four that we're talking about right now. All right? That survived after him. All right? And from them, their children began to rule. So let's read on, Kani. So again, the four generals are Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lycomesus, I don't know how to pronounce it, and who am I missing? Cassander, right? Let's read on.
Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place.
Read on.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
So evils were multiplied in the earth after them. So each one of these kings, their children took over. So like I give you an example, in Egypt, the original Hamitic people in Egypt was long gone by the time these people came. When they came inside, it was the Greeks ruled. So when you hear about Cleopatra and Mark Antony, she was an Edomite. She wasn't an Egyptian, even though she followed Egyptian customs, but she was an Edomite. She's from the Ptolemy dynasty that ruled. And as a matter of fact, she was the last ruling Ptolemy before the Romans under Octavian actually defeated her. And she committed suicide, her Mark Antony. All right. We'll get to that another time. So let's read on.
Verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king.
Stop. So out of those 4 generals came a wicked root. Out of those 4 generals came one man that was really wicked. His name was Antiochus Epiphanes. Epiphanes means God manifested on earth. This Edomite thought he was God on earth. But you know what? It would make sense because they named the lands after their own name. They thought for themselves, because if you go back to map, there's an Antioch on that map, if I'm correct. It'll be in the land, maybe a little north of the land of Canaan. Tell me if it's there. It's there on the map? It'd be right north of Canaan, or maybe even in Canaan. The same, you trying to find the same map you had before? Okay, so we're talking meanwhile. Let's see if it's there. Is there Antioch on that map? No, it's not. So when you get a chance, look for another map. You'll see Antioch. Anyway, so read that verse again, can I?
Verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king.
Okay, this man, Antiochus Epiphanes, was the son of Antiochus the king, also known as Antiochus the Great, also known as Antiochus the Third. Now, from the time we read in verse 1, that was 331 BC. By the time we get down to verse 10, we're talking about 170 BC, 175 BC. So there was a 200 and something year, about 200 year difference. My math is off a little bit.
About
155 years, 156 years, somewhere around there, difference. All right? So you read 10 verses, but you skipped almost 200 years. All right. So out of that line, which would be the line of Seleucus, out of those 4 generals, you had a man who was born from a line by the name of Antiochus the Great. All right. A little bit of history about Antiochus the Great. He went up against Rome. He actually harbored Hannibal when Hannibal warred against Rome out of Carthage. Let you know, Hannibal almost defeated Rome. He would have defeated Rome. He was the first, and Hannibal was an Israelite. Hannibal was the first person to ever cross the Rubicon and landed on Roman soil ever in war. And he went over the Alps with elephants. I don't know how the hell he did that. I can't imagine how you would ever do that. But he was a fierce fighter. And the only reason he lost is because Carthage called him back home, because Rome knew they couldn't beat him like that. So they went to Carthage, Rome, went over to the Carthage. It's northern Africa, and began to fight against Carthage and beat them, and Carthage called Hannibal back to help, or he would have had a very good possibility of beating him. Anyway, he went back. Leo Cypricus Africanus, I'm going to say the second because his father lost to Hannibal. The second Africanus fought against Hannibal and beat them. And thus they named the land Africanus, is where you get the word Africa from. All right, that goes back to Psalms 49 and 11. Anyway, so Hannibal ran to Antiochus III, or this man's Antiochus the Great, the king. And Rome got pissed off. Rome's like, you harboring our enemy? You know what? We're going to fight you. But, Antiochus the Great thought, I can handle these dudes. I can handle them. But he found out he couldn't, and he lost to them. So by the time we read this history here, the Greeks are already in subjection to the Romans. They were already waning in power. They were already paying tribute to the Romans. And guess how they raised their tribute money? Well, before we get to that point, how do we know they were in tribute to Rome? Read verse 10 again.
Verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome.
Epiphanes was a hostage at Rome. So when Antiochus the Great lost the war to the Romans, part of the surrender was you had to give up your son as a hostage. You have to pay tribute and then give up your son as a hostage. So Antiochus Epiphanes, while his father was alive, and we're going to read about his brother, he lived in Rome as a hostage there. So let's prove a little bit. So I want you to read verse 10 one more time.
Verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
So Antiochus reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So what happened? We're going to explain. Antiochus III, which is the great, he died. When he died, he had two sons. One was named Seleucus. The other one name was Antiochus Epiphanes. We stop right here, and then we're going to go to 2 Maccabees to explain the genealogy, or it in chronological order. Let's go to 2 Maccabees real quick. We're going to come back. The book of 2 Maccabees, we're going to pick up in chapter 4. Let's start with chapter 3. I want to read a little bit right now. All right, let me just read a little bit. I'm going to start with chapter 3. Let me start with verse 1. Now, when the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well because of the godliness of Onias the high priest, and the hatred he had of wickedness, it came to pass even the kings themselves did honor the place and magnify the temple with their best gifts, insomuch that Seleucus, king of Asia, of his own revenues, bare the cost belonging to the service of the sacrifice. So here we go. After Antiochus the Great died, his son Seleucus ruled. Remember this. I gave you those names earlier that you're supposed to write down. Seleucus was the son of Antiochus the Great, and he had a brother by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes. Antiochus Epiphanes was a hostage at Rome during the time when Seleucus was ruling after his father's death. When Seleucus ruled, he had a son by the name of Demetrius. Demetrius was sent to Rome also. So you had uncle Epiphanes and his nephew Demetrius, both were hostage at Rome while Seleucus was ruling. Okay? Keep that in mind. So we were in the land, things were good. Even Seleucus was giving revenues towards the temple. Okay, but verse 4, this is when things get bad now. But one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made the governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city. And when he could not overcome Onias, he gat him Apollonius, the son of Tharius, who was the governor of Celesyria and Phoenice, and told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums, so that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifice, in some innumerable, in that it was impossible to bring it into, and it was possible to bring all into the king's hand. So you had a salty Benjamite who was pissed off at the high priest and went and snitched and told all the infinite sums of money that was in the temple and said, we could bring this into the king's hand. Here's the beginning of us once again shooting ourselves down. We're so evil as a people that we go and go snitch to the enemy of other people, so they can, just because you can't have your way. You know what that's spun into? It's spun into the death of thousands of Israelites because one of us wanted to be a nigger. Verse 7. Now, Apollonius came to the king and had shewed him of the money whereof he was told. And the king chose out Helidorius, his treasurer, and sent him with a commandment to bring him the foresaid money. And forthwith Helidorius took his journey under color to visit the city of Celesyria and Phoenice, but indeed to fulfill the king's purpose. So I'm not going to read all this. Helidorius came into the land to go gather that money, that little extra money that was sitting there, and he got scourged by angels. And he left and fled back and told the king, listen, these people got God with them. They got a special power with them, So if they're keeping the commandments, it's best just leave them alone. Now let's jump to chapter 4. So second Maccabees chapter 4. So what I'm trying to do is put in some kind of chronological order. First Maccabees 1 through 9. Then you go to second Maccabees 3, give you a little bit about the history with Seleucus. Chapter 4 is going to explain him dying. Then we'll go back to chapter 1 of First Maccabees. Read 4 and 1 now.
Second Maccabees, chapter 4 and verse 1. This Simon now, of whom we spake afore, having been a bearer of the money, and of his country slandered Onias as if he had terrified Helidorius, and been the worker of these evils.
He's saying that Onias had something to do with Helidorius getting scourged. Read on.
Verse 2. Thus was he bold to call him a traitor, that he had deserved well of the city, and tendered his own nation, and was so zealous of the laws.
Yeah.
But when their hatred went so far that by one of Simon's faction's murders were committed, Onias, seeing the danger of this contention, and that Apollonius, as being the governor of Celesyria and Phoenix, did rage and increase Simon's malice.
Read on.
He went to the king, not to be an accuser of his countrymen, but seeking the good of all, both public and private.
See, I'm going to tell you something. You see how Onias moved? He said, you know what? He didn't go to the king to seek, to accuse his countrymen, Simon. He said, but he just went to seek the peace of the land. Simon was trying to cause a problem. Simon wanted to get people killed. Onias wasn't moving in that spirit. Read on.
Verse 6. For he saw that it was impossible that the state should continue quiet, and Simon leave his folly, unless the king did look thereunto.
Now watch what happens.
Verse 7. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom.
Stop. But what happened? Seleucus eventually died, and that's 187. He ruled from 187 to 75, whatever, something like that. So he died, Seleucus. And after his death, then Antiochus called Epiphanes, took the kingdom. So what did Rome do? They heard Seleucus died. They released Antiochus Epiphanes, who was a hostage at Rome. Why did they release him? They released him because what did Rome want?
Tribute.
They wanted their money. Now you got the king dead. They need somebody in place. While he was in Rome, he was being groomed up. Don't think he was living in a prison house, shackled. They took care of him. They fed him. He had the best of everything. They were grooming him up. He was taught because we need you to be smart because you're about to rule. Go back to the map. You're about to rule all that land right there. And from that land is where Rome got its wealth. You can't even see Rome on that map. Rome is further west after Greece. You're going to rule all that land, so you don't need an idiot ruling it. You need somebody who got some sense. Because at the end of the day, what does Rome want? They want their money. So while he was being groomed up to be a leader, when his brother died, they released him. He went back to the land. And then we pick up in First Maccabees 1. So read that again, that verse.
Verse 7. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, labored underhand to be high priest.
So now you had this snake in the grass, Onias' brother Jason. I'm just trying to, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out Onias. You know, this guy doing good in the land. He's making sure everybody, he hate wickedness. He's doing his job. Everybody's peace. And then you got the snake in the grass, Simon Snake, who snitches on you on the temple and causes big uproar, people getting killed. And now when you're going through that, your own brother now snake you for you're like, damn, you know what? I know he must have been through with this stuff. He's like, okay, I got this enemy, but you, my brother,
Right.
You're going to snake me too? Tell you, boy, he couldn't win. He could not win, boy, with his people. That one would have hurt. The brother one would have hurt. He's like, okay, that's Snaky Benjamite, but you. Tell you, nigga want power, boy. Damn. So this is what he does. Read on.
Verse 8. promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another revenue 80 talents.
So now, guess what happens? Antiochus comes back into the land. And know when Antiochus comes back, he comes back with an army too. Don't think he comes like that, because you don't know what's going on in the city, who's going to try to jockey for the position. So he's coming back with an army. And then here come Jason, that ungodly wretch. He says, listen, I want the high priest seat. You think Antiochus care? I'll pay for it. Oh, give me money then. Okay, to hell with you. You're the man now. You pay me, you get it. Moreover, what did he say?
Verse 9?
Yeah.
Besides this, he promised to assign 150 more, if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise.
So now you know Jason was doing the most. Jason's like,
Straight
I'll give you more money if we could sign up a gymnasium and we could run around naked.
Twerk in the gym.
Oh, gosh. I know, what's the name? Antiochus was like, you're going to pay me 150 more so you can lift weights naked? You want to pay? So you want to pay me so you can run around naked? Nigga, pay. Pay then. Okay. Damn, I'm telling you, we so freaking as a people. Jenny, I know Antiochus would be like, I'll pay you to get
Right,
naked.
that's what I'm saying.
Like, no, Antiochus,
We'll
I'll
pay
pay
you.
you so I can get naked.
Right.
Yeah, I tell you, we crazy. I can jump off this podium.
Oh man. 'Cause I think about later on when you read I think it's Second Maccabees with what's the brother's name? They tried to give him pork. They was trying to pay him. He wouldn't do it. Eleazar. They was trying to pay him to commit wickedness. Now you got this wicked Negro getting ready to pay the
I would
the
pay
Greek.
you so you can see me butt naked.
Oh man.
And then you paid a man. There's something behind that, trust me. Okay. To set up a place to exercise. He wanted to set up a gymnasium. For those that don't know, the word gymnasium comes from, the etymology of the word comes from the word gymnos. Gymnos means to exercise naked. The Olympics back then, they ran around and they threw on a frisbee butt naked. That's what the Greeks did. And we wanted to be just like them. That's the kicker. And we paid to be. And you got people of all people today that still co-sign being part of this system. All right, read on.
And for the training up of the youth in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of the Antiochians.
And to name them after the name of, saying they're no longer Israelites, they are Antiochians, or they are Greeks. That's why when you get to the New Testament, you hear there's no difference between Jew, and Greek. It ain't talking about Greek people, natural Greek people. Well, the real Greeks ain't even, Edom is not even the real Greeks anyway. They were Javan, they was Japhetic. But that's not the point, because they got pushed out the land. Yes, as a matter of fact, the land of Chittim, which is Cyprus, that's where he came out of. Well, everything east of, I guess so much stuff to talk about. Another time, I don't want to do it, it's going to be too much to go into. Okay, to name themselves Antiochians. So let's go back to First Maccabees and pick back up. So, verse 10. Oh, I meant to make the point about us being in subjection to Rome. Oh, let me say, with the Romans. Okay, I'm asking you guys, do you want me to explain right now the point of the Greeks paying tribute to Rome, or do you want me to get back to it later? You guys decide. Now, okay. So remember, he was a hostage at Rome, right? Let's go back. Let's go to First Maccabees. So what I'm going to explain right now, I'm sorry? And I have. I'm not sure how much I want to explain this right now. Start with verse 1.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 8 and verse 1. Now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them. And that they were men of great valor, it was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute, and what they had done in the country of Spain for the winnings of the mines of silver and of gold which is there, and that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place. Through it they were very far from them, and the kings also that came against them from the othermost part of the earth, till they discomfited them and given them a great overthrow.
Okay. So here's the point. Let's go back with verse 1.
First Maccabees chapter 8 and verse 1. Now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them, and that they were men of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians.
So they fought against the Galatians, read them.
And how they had conquered them and brought them unto tribute.
Read
And what they had done in the country of Spain for the winning of the mines of silver and gold which is there.
And Spain is also known in the Bible as, prior to them calling Spain, was known as Tarshish. Read on.
And that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place.
By policy and patience they have conquered. So what they policy, once they conquered, they fought these lands, their policies that they instituted these lands and being patient on it, they had a vast amount of land that they controlled. Read on.
Though it were very far from them.
Though it was very far from them.
And the kings also that came against them from the uttermost part of the earth, till they discomfited them, and given them a great overthrow, so that the rest of them did give them tribute every year.
That's what I said before. By their policies, they were able to collect tribute from very far lands. Because if the people don't want to pay the tribute, what happens? You got to get an army and march all the way back over there to go fight them again, to put them under okay, that's a good map of the Roman world. You got to go all the way over, and you know what happened? And I'm going to tell you something. You look from Spain, go up to Gaul, up above Spain, right here, Germania. You ever saw, what's the movie with Not the Edomite dude. The Edomite dude. You hear me?
With the Gauls?
About Rome. My mind is. Name all those movies. Come on, man.
Gladiator.
Gladiator. They fought up in Gaul, which is right there. Gaul, Germania, which is Germany. All those areas they fought, which is Spain also. Gaul is Spain now. That's part of Spain. But anyway, those are the lands they fought way up in there. Matter of fact, they had a real problem in Germania. That's not in the Bible, but it's just part of history. But if you ever seen Gladiator, those are lands they conquered. They put them all in subjection, and then they went eastward, all the way into Asia Minor, right there. So by policy and practice, they saw what they're doing. And in Rome, and that's not even a full Roman world, because when you go down to Egypt, that's part of it. You see where it says Africa on the tilt right there? That is Carthage.
Right north, right next.
Oh, right there. That's Carthage right there. That's where what's name was at. That's exactly where Hannibal was. And Hannibal ran from there when he fled all the way over to Asia. Go across the sea, Mediterranean. Up, right there. Down, right there. That's where he fled to. So by policy and practices, that's how they collect their tribute, their money. Okay, let's go back.
First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse
Okay, and they did read the last part of verse 4.
verse 4. And the king also came against them from the uttermost part of the earth, till they had discomfited them and had given them a great overthrow, so that the rest did give them tribute every year.
Read on.
Besides this, how they had discomfited in the battle of Philip and Persis, the king of Siddoms.
That's Chittim. That's Cyprus. If you look on the map, let's go back to the map again. And you read about Cyprus a lot in the Bible. They speak about Cyprus a lot. Right down there, right there, Cyprus, right there. Okay, read on.
With others that lifted up themselves against them and had overcome them.
Now watch this.
How also Antiochus, the great king of Asia,
That's Antiochus. Now read on.
that came against them in battle, having 120 elephants with horsemen and chariot, and a very great army, was discomfited by them.
So which Antiochus is this that was discomfited by the Romans? Who knows? Right. That's Antiochus the Third, or the Great. This is when he lost to them. He lost in the battle. And if I'm correct, it was called the Battle of Malganese in 193 BC. While we're going through it, just look it up and see if I'm correct in what I'm saying. 193 BC, Malganese, M-A Ganese. Read on. And it says, now read that verse, the last verse for 7.
Verse 7. We didn't get to verse 7. We got to verse 6.
Sorry, go ahead.
End of verse 6?
Yeah.
There's no, like, period. It will start over from verse.
Just whatever.
Okay. How also Antiochus, the great king of Asia, that came against them in battle, having 120 elephants with horsemen and chariots, and a very great army, was discomfited by them.
Read on.
And how they took him alive and covenanted that he and such as reigned after him should pay a great tribute and give hostages.
And give what?
Hostages, and that which was agreed upon.
So Antiochus the Great agreed upon it. He gave hostage. We just read his son Antiochus Epiphanes was a hostage at Rome. So if you want to put it in chronological order, we got to jump around a little bit. So Judas heard about the fame of Rome. Here come the Greeks, Antiochus Epiphanes, this wicked one. He began to have his policies practiced, start killing us off. And we're going to go back and read it. And Judas said, you know what? I'm going to go to Rome. I'm going to make a covenant with Rome. But here we go. Rome already had defeated the Greeks and had the Greeks paying tribute. And the Greeks had to come up with their money. Well, how do you think they came up with their money? Let's go to 2 Maccabees. Here's one way they came up with the money. 2 Maccabees, chapter 8. Verse 10.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 8 and verse 10. So Nicanor undertook to make so much money of the captive Jews as they should defray the tribute of 2,000 talents, which the king was to pay to the Romans.
All right, so Antiochus had to pay the tribute to the Romans. How did they raise that money? By selling us as slaves. Read that verse again.
So Nicanor undertook to make so much money of the captive Jews as should defray the tribute of 2,000 talents, which the king was to pay to the Romans.
To pay to the Romans. Jump up to verse. Furthermore, such time we kept the feast. Verse 34. Let's just jump up to the point.
Verse 34. As for that most ungracious Nicanor, who had brought 1,000 merchants to buy the Jews, he was through the help of the Lord brought down by them, of whom he made least account. And putting off his glorious apparel and discharging his company, he came like a fugitive servant through the midland unto Antioch, having very great dishonor, for that his host was destroyed. Thus he that took upon him to make good to the Romans their tribute by means of the captive in Jerusalem told abroad that the Jews had a God to fight for them.
When you was keeping the commandments, God was going to fight for us. But the point was, they raised a lot of their tribute money that they had to pay to Rome by what? Enslaving the Jews and selling them as slaves. So what do? We went to Rome. Now, not that we care about Rome, but we had to find a lesser two evils of what we're going to deal with, and we less of three evils, because you have Ptolemy. You didn't know which one, so we went to the Romans. We said, instead of being stuck between the Ptolemies and the Seleucid dynasties, which were warring for our land, let me go right to the head. Let me go to Rome, and let me deal with Rome. Now watch this. We're going to go to 1 Maccabees 13, and I want verse 38. Remember, we just read in 1 Maccabees 8, Judas joined with the Romans. He went to the Romans to talk with them, heard about their wars and what they have done, and tried to make an agreement with them. 1 Maccabees chapter 13, verse 38.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 13 and 38. And whatsoever covenants we have made with you shall stand, and the strongholds which ye have builded shall be your own. As for any oversight or fault committed unto this day, we forgive it, and the crown tax also, which ye owe us. And if there were any other tribute paid in Jerusalem, it shall be no more paid.
Okay, so now this is, I'm jumping all over the place. We were paying tributes to the Greeks. All right, this was Demetrius. This was Seleucus' son. But here's the point. I was reading that for was showing that Demetrius began to defray whatever tribute we had to pay him. Why? Why was he deferring it for? Let's go back to 1 Maccabees. 1 Maccabees 8 and verse 19. This is why.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 8 and verse 19. They went therefore to Rome, which was a very great journey, and came into the Senate, which they spake and said, Judas Maccabeus with his brethren and the people of the Jews have sent us unto you to make a confederacy and peace with you, that we might be registered your confederates and friends. So that matter pleased the Romans well.
So they said, okay, you want to submit to us? Okay, Romans said, cool, we're listening.
And that this is the copy of the epistle which the Senate wrote back again in the tables of brass and sent to Jerusalem, that there might have by them a memorial of peace and confederacy.
Rome said, once you submit to me, we ain't going to fight against you. But guess what? Rome already controlled indirectly us because they control the Greeks. Well, we say, you know what? We got to go directly to them because these Greeks are trying to wear us out. Read on.
Good success be to the Romans and to the people of the Jews, by sea and by land forever. The sword also, an enemy, be far from them.
Read on.
If there come first any war upon the Romans or any of their confederates throughout all the dominions, the people of the Jews shall help them.
So we told Rome, listen, yeah, we're under the Greeks, but if any war breaks out against you, Rome, or any of your confederates that's with you, we'll send men to go to war with you. Rome said, okay, that's what I want to hear. I got other people that's going to join with us. They're not really where I'm at. They're further away, but they're being confederate under us, saying they're going to be with us if we make a policy and practice with them. Read on.
As the time shall be appointed with all their heart. Neither shall they give anything unto them that make war upon us, or aid them with victuals, weapons, money, or ships.
So if anybody come against Rome, we're not going to aid them with nothing. They're not going. We're going to block them out. Then it gets nothing from us. Read on.
As it hath seemed good unto the Romans.
So you know what this is the beginning of? Well, let me see.
Foreign policy.
Right, the foreign policy, United Nations. It's like, yo, we'll block people out. They'll get if they're not friends of Rome, they get no help from us. Read on.
But they shall keep their covenants without taking anything therefore.
Read on.
In the same manner also, if war come first upon the nation of the Jews, the Romans shall help them with all their heart, according as the time shall be appointed them.
So now, in return, Rome, if anybody come to war against us, you got to help us. Read on.
Neither shall victuals be given to them that take part against them, or weapons, or money, or ships, as it had seemed good to the Romans. But they shall keep their covenants, and without that deceit. According to these articles, did the Romans make a covenant with the people of the Jews.
Read on.
Howbeit, if hereafter that one party or the other shall think to meet to aid or diminish anything,
To add or diminish,
they may do it at their pleasures, and whatsoever they shall add or take away shall be ratified.
So if at any time they decide to change it, they can change their policies. Read on. Now, guess what? When we spoke to the Romans and gave them this, we wasn't trying to hold them hard to it for the fact that you couldn't hold them hard anyway, because Rome could come in and crush you anyway. We're saying we're going to join to you. Anybody come against you, we're going to war against them. We're not going to be friends. And you got to do the same for us. And if you decide to add or take anything from it, it could be ratified anytime you want to. So right, it was really an open-end contract. But we really didn't have no footing like we can make choices. But we were giving them the option. Rome was like, cool. They're being cool with us. Why wouldn't we fight for them if they're going to give us tribute, if they're going to they're going to make sure nobody going to fight against us? Yeah, we'll help you. What he needs to do. Read on.
Verse 31. And as touching the evils that Demetrius doeth to the Jews, we have written unto him, saying, Wherefore hast thou made thy yoke heavy upon our friends and confederates the Jews?
So now Demetrius, which was the son of Seleucus, I don't know, I'm doing so much at one time. I'm trying to explain why Demetrius comes into play. So I'm going to go back and read in a second. I'm just going to explain it. After Antiochus the Great died, his son Seleucus took the rule. Seleucus had a son named Demetrius. When Seleucus died, his brother Antiochus Epiphanes came into rule. He was a hostage at Rome. When Antiochus Epiphanes died, his son Eupator took rule, but he was a little boy. Rome freed Demetrius, the son of Seleucus, and sent him back to Jerusalem. He killed his cousin Eupator. We're going to all read it eventually, someday. Demetrius now was putting the hammer down. So we said, you know what, let's go straight to Rome. Rome, we need help. We're going to fight for you, do whatever you need us to do. We with you. I just want to be your friend. Rome said, cool. So what you need us to do? Get Demetrius off our back right now. So Rome is writing to Demetrius right now. Remember, Demetrius released Rome. Rome to release Demetrius to go back to the land, to take over. So now they're writing to Demetrius. Read.
And as touching the evils that Demetrius doeth to the Jews, we have written unto him, saying, Wherefore hast thou made thy yoke heavy upon our friends and confederates the Jews? If therefore they complain any more against thee, we will do them justice and fight with the sea and by land.
That's the reason why Demetrius said in the other chapter, I relieve you of any tribute, whatever. Because guess what? With Nicanor, they were selling some slaves. We was catching it. So Rome said, listen, Demetrius, leave them alone. So what I'm trying to show you is that even though this was the kingdom of the Greeks, they really weren't ruling. They were vassal kings. Their day was weaning down by the time you get to the Maccabees. Their heydays was the days of Alexander and the generals right after that. By the time you get here, guess what? They was the subject to Rome. The thing is that we was the subject to them. So it was just trickling down. All right? So let's go back and begin now.
I'll say something I always find interesting about reading this chapter is just seeing the parallels between Rome and America today.
Yeah, give me an example.
With the Senate.
Right, exactly. The leagues they make with nations, their policies. That's how America have policy today. Why do you think America is able to control so much? They make policies with all these other lands. And part of it is that they build enough policies with countries that if one country gets out of order, everybody will shut them out. Yeah. Nobody does trade with them. We don't even got to go to war first. How do you think they broke the back of Russia? Everybody just policies, just sanctions.
You see Cuba.
They broke the Berlin Wall. What? Policy. And don't think Germany is broke. Germany, they're wealthy. But you get enough countries to rally against them. What you want to do? You want to fight all of us? Nobody will sell nothing to you. Nobody will buy from you. Your stuff won't be sold like that. You have to change the way you are. You have to change what you're doing, and you have to submit to us. So yeah, a lot of America is based off of the blueprint that was done prior to America. And here's the funny thing. They fell. So why America think they're not going to fall either? I don't, for the life of me, I don't know. You know why? Pride is in their heart. Psalm 49. They think that it's going to continue forever. No, it's not. There's only one kingdom that's going to continue forever, and that's going to be Christ's kingdom. So let's go back to 1 Maccabees 1. So we're going to pick up in verse 10 and just read.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Read.
In those days went there out of Israel wicked men.
Name some of those wicked men that we read about earlier that came out of them. Jason was one. Simon was the other one. These ungodly wretches. That's why I said 1st and 2nd Maccabees is saying the same thing. You just got it's just 2nd Maccabees will color it in a little more and give you some names. Here you're just reading like it in an overview of it. Yeah. So we're going to put the name. Those wicked men were Simon, Jason. Read on.
In those days, there went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many.
Stop. How did they persuade many? How did they persuade many? Persuade them to do what? To be called Antiochians. To set up gymnasiums. Read on.
Who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Oh, so they said, once we were dealing with the heathen, things were better. What happens? Don't deal with them, they shut you out. They shut you out. We're better off dealing. But you know, that's nothing new. We feel like that about Egypt. We wanted to go back to Egypt, where we ate leeks and garlic freely. Like today, people ain't going, I'm telling you, the average Jake don't want America to end. You crazy, you get EBT. Why would I want it to end? I get EBT. You can get a burger for $1 and a sweet tea for $1.19.
Don't get much better than that, right?
Nah. 4 for $4.
That 4 for $4, though.
They're like, stop for what? I don't want this to end. Things are good. Ciroc came out with a new flavor, a berry flavor. New strain of weed. Young Jock is coming out with a new album. Shit, life is good. We don't want it to end.
It's a Stockholm syndrome.
I'm telling you, we are broken people. We are broken people. And then you say these things are like, oh, you're hateful. God bless America. Oh gosh, I'm taking you guys with. If it wasn't for the Israelites today, this place it'd be no reason for this place to continue on. God is just holding back the destruction so we could seal these Israelites. Because, people, boy, let's go.
Verse 12. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
Who was that person that went to the king? We just read that. That was Jason. He paid to get license to do after ordinance of the heathen. Read on.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen.
Read on.
And made themselves uncircumcised.
What does it mean they made themselves uncircumcised? So they were circumcised,
This is your tie-in.
but they made,
This is your tie-in right here.
Explain to me.
Oh, with Acts 15. And they were,
Oh, right. There you go. This they cooking with fire. There you go. I don't want to go back there. To change this whole class. But you're right. They made themselves now, if the circumcision this is talking about is of the private area on the man, his penis, if once you cut, you can't reattach it. So it ain't talking about making yourself uncircumcised, meaning your foreskin. You made yourself uncircumcised by following the ways of the heathen. Go to the book of Jeremiah. Chapter 9, verse 26. Now, making ourselves uncircumcised ain't nothing new. We've been doing that. That's why God says he's a long-suffering power. Because, man, we've been at this uncircumcising ourselves for a long, long time.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 9, verse. You'll start at verse 25.
I don't know where's it at. I can't find it. 25. All right, read.
Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will punish all them which are circumcised with the uncircumcised. Egypt and Judah and Edom and the children of Ammon
I'm
and
lost. What verse you started with?
verse 25.
Oh snap! I was reading 24. Okay, go ahead.
Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will punish all them which are circumcised with the uncircumcised.
He's going to punish the circumcised with the uncircumcised. Now, for you church folk that have been mistaught the Bible, don't understand it, you think the people that have their penis circumcised is going to be punished with the people who don't have their penis circumcised. No. The circumcision is Israel, the uncircumcised are the heathen. He's going to punish them together. Read on.
Egypt and Judah and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab and all that are in the uttermost corners.
He just said, I'm gonna punish Egypt and Judah and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab. We're all intermingled in that with those people. Read on.
That dwell in the wilderness, for all these nations are uncircumcised, and all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in the heart.
They're uncircumcised in their minds. They're living like heathen in their minds. They decide, you know what? I got a great idea. Hey, listen, Antiochus, if you don't mind, can I pay you so I can run around butt naked? Is that good with you? I got 150,000 talents that I want to give you so I could be
You
naked,
gonna pay me?
so I can run around naked with a bunch of men. Because I want to be just like you. I see that's what you guys do, and I'm jealous.
I like you, Jason.
I could imagine. He said, okay, I'll take your money if you want to run around naked. Okay.
I gotta look at you naked and you pay me?
And you pay me for that?
This is great. It doesn't
Wow.
get much better than this.
Stranger danger. Stranger danger. I can't imagine. I'm reading it, but it shocks me that we had people of our own that really practice this, or we are our worst enemies. We're our worst enemies, and it was training up youth in this Greekish fashion. So they had little boys running around naked. That's why I said, you guys that go to the gym and work out, come on, don't tell me you're not uncomfortable when you go in the locker room. I would carry my little duffel bag and never go in there unless I got to take a leak, and then I'm not going to the bed. Be some old man with saggy balls, white man sitting like this, butt naked, sitting there, and they be having full conversation. Yeah, I bought stocks last week. And then you walk in there acting normal. That crap ain't normal.
At all. At all.
I mean, hey, dude, can you just keep some shorts on? What, you got to steam your balls too? Man, come on, man. That thing is net a piece of friggin' heathens. Oh, gosh.
Oh, man, I got a story.
Yeah, no, I don't want to hear. Listen, I just drank coffee. I don't want to throw up in my mouth.
But it's funny how you say about them training them up in as a youth.
And it'd be a young guy, your little teenager guy coming here, and them old white man looking at your little tight little backside. You've been telling just playing ball. He's like, you want to play balls, do you? Okay, let's go back.
Oh man, you see it in the schools though. That's how they train them up. They
Yeah,
be having them locker room showers. I know you grew up seeing that.
Nah, I didn't go to. I didn't go to high school. You know what? Yeah, I stayed in the lunchroom. Oh,
Yeah,
I was in lunchroom for first period.
AP lunch.
I was playing CeeLo in first period.
AP lunch. Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you guys a little joke about school. Honestly, I went to college, but I didn't go to high school. I went to high school, but I didn't go to class. My whole high school career, I really didn't go to. Only class I ever took in high school, sincerely, was history, and I had like a 97 average in history throughout my high school career. Everything else I didn't go. So anyway, two stories. One, my mom's got my report card one day, and it was all fails except history. She said, "Man, what is this? I'm going to your school." So your grandmother said, "She's going to school." So I was about 17. And I'm like, oh, God. And then she's going to school, and when school opens, so everybody's in front of the school. I'm like, oh, we're driving to school. Now I'm stressing. I'm like, this is going to be bad. Niggas is going to get. I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. So as we're driving to school, my mom's like, she's still talking about it. Now, in my household, disrespect is warranted death. You can have all F's, but damn, you better not be disrespectful. So anyway, so mother's driving to school saying, "No, this is great. I don't understand." I said, "Mom, the reason why they're all F's, because I didn't do the work." And my mother smacked the hell out of me, But that's the reason why. I mean, it wasn't because I was doing the work why I got all Fs. I got it because I wasn't doing the work. So she kicked me at the car. And I said, well, can I at least have some money so I can get the bus? She pulled off and left me there. So I didn't do nothing in school. So now I decided, you know what? It's time to get my act together. I need to graduate. You know, so I went to my counselor. I said, listen, I need to get my stuff together. I want to graduate. And she said, oh, yeah. At the rate you're going, you won't graduate till you're 20. I said, no, I go to summer school. She said, no, that's what summer school. She said, no, you miss. I said, I go summer and night school. No, that's what summer school and night school. No, you know, you won't graduate. I'm like, nah, you bugging. So I took my GED, and I aced it, and I went to a 4-year college.
What?
So it wasn't like I was stupid. I just, whatever. So back to the point about the locker room. I was never in there because I was never in class. So I never seen that, But I've heard about it. Have you seen it before? Oh, damn, my bad. Some of us was lucky.
I couldn't skip school.
Yeah, you know me. I was too smart. Anyway, let's go back. You wasn't gonna run those games on me. So let's go.
Going to school today.
Let's go back to First Maccabees. I hope you don't want to go to gym. First Maccabees 1:15.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 15. And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
And we were sold, people sold to do mischief. They were sold to do it. We paid to do it. I can't imagine that. Read on.
And when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt.
So now when Antiochus Epiphanes came into power, after his brother died, he thought to reign over Egypt. He wanted the Ptolemy dynasty. Now give me back to that map again, real quick. Here's the precarious, if that's the word, I forgot the situation we had there. Show me Jerusalem. Okay. Ptolemy dynasty, king of the Ptolemy, Seleucid dynasty. Seleucid had massive land. Look at that. But here's the thing. We were stuck in the middle. So they were warring. Everybody wanted that land. Why do you think those two kingdoms wanted that land? What was so important of having Jerusalem, other than it being God's chosen, but there was something else, reason why? I know you should know.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, so I'll explain it then. If you wanted the opportunity to defeat either one of those wanted to defeat each other, it was a military base. You had the water coming from the Mediterranean. You can put your troops there, stock your victuals there, and then you can make a push. You can't really make a push against the Seleucid dynasty if you are based out of Egypt. You need to, when you move troops, you got to have some place to store your stuff at. You keep on moving, you move. You want to come down, so we were stuck between them two guys fighting each other. First off, the Seleucids were fighting internal. Not too sure about the Ptolemies. Then they were fighting each other. We was just getting worn out. So what did we do? We ran to Rome. Rome, listen, come on, man. Right now, we was under the Ptolemy at first. Now these dudes are taking over, and we just need some relief. We just want to live quiet and peaceable. Can we be friends? And Rome said, cool. Now, can we trust Rome? Hell no. We knew that. But at that moment, we was whatever. How do you know we can't trust Rome? Rome eventually is the one who what? Totally annihilated and destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD. Yep. So it wasn't like that. But for that moment, it was just, do you want to serve? Do you want to serve the Romans, the Ptolemy, or Seleucid? Satan, the devil, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna go with Satan right now because he's gonna give me. These other guys ain't give me no chance. So
I was just wondering, you think they also chose Israel because they would have to go to Saudi Arabia and that's just desert?
They couldn't go to Saudi. There's nobody's gonna cross. You don't read nowhere in history where anybody crossed across the Saudi. Yeah. There's no way you would make it. When they moved out, when Abraham left the Ur of the Chaldees, which where Babylon is at, he moved up to Mesopotamia. That's how you need a water. You always got to have a water source. Right, and then he moved to Haran and then came back down. And nobody went through the middle of Saudi Arabia and came across. Nobody would have ever made it. All right? So, verse 16.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 16. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of 2 realms.
Read on.
Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy.
So what is that telling you? If he went down into Egypt, he controlled Jerusalem. He controlled us for him to make that war. And we're going to read it right in the chapter. And you also read this in Daniel's too. We read this in Daniel's. Read on.
And made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death.
Read on.
Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt and took the spoils thereof.
And they eventually lost it. Read on.
And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and of all the vessels thereof, and the table of the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the veils, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoke in very proudly.
Stop. So he stole everything from the temple. That's back in Daniel, the abomination that maketh desolate. That's what Daniel was talking about. And then he made a massacre of the saints of God. So let's color the picture about the abomination that maketh desolate. What is that talking about? Let's go to the book of 2 Maccabees. Chapter, bear with me, chapter 6, verse 1.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, and to not live after the laws of God.
We're going to go back and read that in 1 Maccabees 1 in a second. Read on.
And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius.
And call the temple in Jerusalem Jupiter Olympius. That's where you get the word Olympic from, the Olympics. Read on.
And that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place.
Read on.
The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people.
And the coming of this mission was sore and grievous. And who did that begin with? That began with Simon, that sleazy, slimy Benjamite. Damn. He opened the door to that crap, and then the Levite, Jason, just threw us in a tailspin. Read on.
For the temple was filled with riot and reveling.
So in the temple of the Most High God, it was rioting. They were partying, drinking, reveling. Read on.
By the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places.
They made God's temple a whorehouse. This is the abomination that maketh desolate. Read on.
And besides that brought in the things which were not lawful.
They brought in what? Whores into the temple, not lawful. Pork into the temple, not lawful. Idols into the temple, not lawful. Read on.
The altar also was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth.
It was filled with profane thing with the law forbiddeth. 1 second. The book of Psalms. 74. Verse 3.
The book of Psalms, chapter 74 and verse 3. Lift up thy feet unto the perpetual desolations, even all the enemy that hath done wickedly in the sanctuary.
Read on.
Thine enemy roar in the midst of thy congregation. They set up their ensign for signs.
They set up their, and this is what Asaph wrote in the Psalms, that they set up their ensigns for signs. What did we just read? They set up Jupiter, Olympius, in the temple. Let's go back.
Second Maccabees, chapter 6, and verse 7. Verse 6.
Yeah.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
They could not profess themselves to be a Jew. They couldn't keep their ancient feast days. This is one of the problems that the Greeks had. They began to Hellenize everybody. And many of those other nations, they end up hating them. And that's why they killed Antiochus Epiphanes. Because he began to force, then the Persians were smart enough. They're like, serve who the hell you want to serve. Where's my money? You want that? Nobody could be set up as a king. You guys do what you want to serve, do whatever you want to do. Just make sure you have my tribute. This is what they messed up. They wanted a tribute and they wanted to take on Greek customs. You have to follow Greek customs or we'll kill you. Persians like, I don't give a damn what you, I want the cash. So all I want is cash. Give me money. You don't have no money, I kill you. Worship who you want to worship. And that's why they was able to they practice. That was also, okay, prophetically, America is Babylon. Greeks, same mentality, Esau. Ancient Babylon was very similar. Remember they told them, when you hear the sound of the sackbut, the psaltery, whatever, you all bow down. Mm-hmm. They was trying to get them all under one accord. And if you didn't bow down, they went and told Nebuchadnezzar to kill him. Same mentality. What was the end result with Nebuchadnezzar? He was killed, Belshazzar, his son. Belshazzar, his son, was killed the same night when the writing was on the wall. Why? There were people that were living in Babylon that hated him. Why? Because it was forcing them to move away from their beliefs. Right. There's only one kingdom that's going to force everybody to move away from their belief. It's going to be the Israelites under Christ. That's it. So they tried, ancient Babylon tried the same thing, and they lost. Get that on the wall. Ancient Babylon tried the same thing, and they lost. That was the problem. So let's read.
Verse 7. And in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus.
So, under bitter constraint, we was forced to eat the sacrifices. Not today. What do we do? When it says go in procession, this was to worship Bacchus, the god of wine and reveling. Part of that, and the god. He's also called a god of excess too, Bacchus. So what they did by bitter constraint, they was forced to eat of that sacrifice. Today, we willing to do it. It's called Carnival, Mardi Gras. And what they do, people go in procession. They walk down the street. You see in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Jamaica, women be half naked, do be painting their body with tar, baby powder, walking down the street behind the music, listen to the music, playing the music, dancing, drunkenness, whoredom. Not a new culture. Not a new culture.
Procession. I'm reading the definition of it. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, go. Read it.
Oh. Procession. A number of people or vehicles moving forward in an orderly fashion, especially as part of a ceremony or festival. Parade, march.
Yeah, okay, stay right there. Google Carnival Trinidad. That's anyone. Go to images. Okay. Go to video. Pick one. Go. It says Trinidad? Yeah, pick it. Scan through it real quick. I'm going to see if I can get the procession. There you go. See how they go in procession? Walking down? This is Bacchus. This is the god they're worshiping. They don't know. This the God of orgies and drunkenness. If you notice, I don't think you see it here, people are going to have drinks in their hands. This is the God. They don't even realize it. And you know what that's called in Trinidad? That's called bacchanal. That's what they call bacchanal. All right, let's go back. And you got it Mardi Gras. You got a carnival in Brazil. Same thing. All people, ungodly custom grown stores, ungodly custom grown strong is kept as a law today. What verse we left off at?
Verse 7.
Right, we don't.
I'm going to read.
I want to stop now. I'm finished. I don't want to talk no more. All right, we'll pick it back up. When you guys finish reading First Maccabees. And on Thursday, I will still be here, Lord, spare my life, and I will continue on with the history of the Greeks. All right, so visit us at www.israelunite.org. Please like, comment, and share these videos so the word can get out. Thank you for tuning in, and if it be the Most High's will, we will be back on Thursday morning. With that, we say shalom.
Shalom. Most High in Christ bless.
What is a nation? Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. His word